Hello everyone, welcome back to the series of tutorials on Python programming. I am Deepak Kunyar, and in this series we are discussing about some Python programs, some Python concepts. This series is useful if you are very new to the Python programming and want to learn it from very basic. Till now I have made around 24, if you see here, around 24 or 25 lectures in this, beginning from the motivation of Python learning, setting up the Python in Mac, Linux, and Windows, and up to file handling. And at the end, I have taken a doubt session, live doubt session, which was attended by around 1,000 people. So we are going to discuss one more thing in this series. If you want to get all the tutorials or the resources that I have discussed till now, you can go to my GitHub repository and you can search this Python programming, or maybe you can take this URL and find out all these resources here. You can also clone this repository and get all these files in your system and run one by one, and together you can see the lectures that I have provided you on YouTube, right? So let's move ahead and talk about one more important topic in this tutorial. And here we are going to discuss about strf time and strp time methods. So there are two methods and they are from Python datetime package. So let's discuss about these two functions one by one. First, we are going to talk about strf time, and its format is something like this. If you have a date object, you have to use strf time function, and you need to pass a format here. So you can ask what this function is going to do. This function converts a date object into a string format, right? So we have a date object, and when you pass or when you use this function, date object will be converted into string or strings. Okay, so in this format you need to pass few things that I am going to tell you now. Suppose you pass percentile a, this is small a. So weekdays will be printed like this: Sunday, Monday, and so on. If you want these name as full name, so you need to use percentile A. Then you will see names as Sunday, Monday, and so on. So just understand this theory first, and then we'll execute these programs. You can also write these things as like 0, 1, 2, and so on. But for that you need to use percentile small w. And when we are talking about month, so this was about weekdays, right? So if we talk about day of month, it could be 01, 02, and so on. If you want this format, you need to use percentile d. There are two other format: percentile b, small b, and another is percentile capital B. So this small b is used for this kind of format, and if you want it as full name again, then you need to use this capital B, right? So this was about day of month, or we can say dates, and these are about months. But you can also like your Jan, Feb, and so on in this format: 01, 02, and 03, so on. So for this you need to use percentile m. Let's talk about year now. So how can we write years? Either it could be percentile y, which is small y, and in this year will come without century, so it could be 11, 12, 13, so on. But if you want it like this: 2011, 2012, 2020, and so on. For this you need to use capital Y, right? Now in a date you can have weekdays, dates of a month, year. What could you have? Other things you could have, it could be hours, minutes, seconds, microseconds, and so on. For that we can use percentile h, and in percentile h it will be a 24 hours format, which will come from 00 to 23. But if you want it in 12 hours format, and 12 hour will be 01 to 12, and in this you can use percentile I. So it is about hours, right? If you want to use am, pm, something like this, so you have to use percentile p, because with this thing will be needed, right? Now hours is done. Let's talk about minutes and seconds. So minutes will be basically in 00 to 59, and if we talk about seconds, it will again be from 00 to 59. And let me write for both of them. You see percentile is same in everywhere, but what we are changing here, we are just changing these alphabets, right? So for the minute it's capital M, and for the seconds it's capital S. It's easier for both of them. Even it for hour, if you are using 24-hour format, so these things are very easy, right? You are using percentile H, percentile M, and percentile S, so you don't need to remember it. It's very intuitive. If you want to use microsecond, then you have to use percentile F. This you need to remember because it's not that easy. And in this you are going to get microsecond up to 6 decimal numbers. So whether you are using this function strftime or strptime, this format is going to be same, right? I will upload this file on GitHub, so you don't need to worry. Now let's write some program and execute using these formats. Okay, so we'll import date time first. From date time, you need to import date time, and let's make a variable now. So it will show you the time of now. What is the current time? And if you want to print it, it will show you time of right now. So you can see this time, right? Whatever you're seeing is in some format. If you want to print the format or print the type of this format, you can just use type function, and you are seeing that it is a date time object. And right now the time is it's 5th of Feb 2023, and the time is 9 o'clock. Microsecond is also there. Okay, so now we need to convert this datetime object to datetime string. How you can do that? You have this variable now. Just use strf time, and now you need to provide format that we have seen. You can see it here. So we want year, month, and date first. So just write like this, year. So it will come like 2023 percentile, and for month you can use one of these. So if you want 01, 02, 03, you can use percentile M in small. So I will use like this because we are familiar with this kind of format. And now about the date. So you can see where is the date, this one. So I will use percentile D. Now give a little bit space. Then you want hours. So percentile H, it was very easy to remember. Hour, percentile minute, percentile second. So we are done, right? Now let's execute this, and you can see we have got the date here and the time here, right? So we have converted this date object into a string format. And if you want to be sure whether this is in a string format or not, so what I will do, I will just make a variable here d1 now, and then I will print d1 now, and I will also print its type d1 now. So you can see there is a class string, and here is the date, right? So if you want to print these like month in some other format, like Feb is going on, so if you want to put here instead of 02, you want to put FEB, then you need to convert this thing, or you need to use another format. So I will make it D2, and instead of this M, you need to use something else, right? You can use percentile B in small. If you want a full name, you can use percentile B in capital. So let's make it smaller, and then just print D2 now, and here you go, right? So that's how you use strf time. Similarly, if you want to use strp time, let me tell you a little bit about strp time. So it is just an opposite function of strf time. This will convert a string to datetime object. So the format is again similar. Whatever we have seen here, these formats, we need to use in strp time as well. But it's the method that we are going to use here, strp time. Its format is something like this. A date string we need to use here, and we need to use format. So how it is different from strf time? You can see it here. We are using date object, strf time, and then we are passing the format. Right? Now just try this thing. How we are going to do that? Let's open the Jupyter notebook. Date time is already imported. So what we have to do now? Date time dot strp time, and then pass. You can pass any string here. This is a string, right? So we can pass this d2 now here. D2 now can be passed like this, and then we need to pass the format that we want our this string to be like. We know that this string in some format, right? So we want it to be recognized as this format. So we can use this whole thing from here, right? Because this string is in this format, and just copy it from above. That's it. Okay. And if you want to execute it, just execute it, and it will convert it into datetime object. So maybe I can write it d2, and then I can check the type of d2. So it's datetime now, and if you print d2, it's in this format. You can also change the format. If you have date in other format, any other format will also work. So I will make it d3. So datetime dot strp time. And suppose you are writing your date in this format, maybe today's date 5 2nd Feb and 2023. This could be the way you might be writing, right? And 21 10 10 second. Okay, so this is the time right now. I want to convert it into datetime object, and I have to provide here that uh, I need to recognize this thing, right? So it's not a month now, it's a date. So how do we want that? Percentile month, because we are using 05 here. So you can see whenever we want in this format, we are using percentile m. So percentile m, then we need to use this slash, and after that we can use percentile d. Just look at here, percentile d. That's why we are getting like this. Then again this slash, percentile year, and for the year we need to use capital Y. Then space is there, just put a space. Now what we need to do, we need to provide hours, minute and second. So percentile h, percentile m, percentile s, right? Execute this, just print it, and here you go. You have successfully converted this thing into datetime object. So you might be asking me where this thing is going to be used. So like you are getting data from some API. So that API is basically sending you data in string format and not this datetime object, right? So when you get the data in JSON format or in any other format, you will be converting that data into datetime object so that you can work with Python objects, right? So you will be using these kind of function in that case, right? So I think you have understood about the uses of strp time and strf time. Okay, so if you have any confusion or any question regarding this thing, you can post your queries in the comments, and I will try to answer back. See you in the next video. Till then, thank you so much. Bye bye.